Okay, so I think we'll get started. As I said, thank you very much to everyone that has joined this morning. And I'm absolutely delighted to see so many people on the call. We are challenging, I think, probably definitely my technology capabilities, where we are doing the live stream webinar online, and we're also really pleased to be joined by a group of people in the room in South Africa as well. So please bear with us with the technology. We've got a few videos to play, and I think we've come up with a plan as to how we can make sure everybody can join in. We've got some polls and videos, and everyone will be able to hear and interact. But please bear with us if it's slightly glitchy, but hopefully it will all run extremely smoothly. So today's launch event really does mark a significant milestone for Leaf and the Leaf Demonstration Farm Network. So Springfield Farm's launch signifies the first demonstration farm from outside of the UK. And this really marks a milestone in terms of the increasing global reach that Leaf as a charity and organisation has, and the increasing number of farmers that we are delighted to be working with around the world to really implement and showcase integrated farm management at scale across different geographies, different climates, different cropping types, and different farming systems. So it really does demonstrate the global reach of integrated farm management and that flexible approach to implementing it in those different systems. The plan for today, for the webinar at least, but then also for the follow-on farm tour that those of you that are out at Springfield Farms will be lucky enough to enjoy, is really an opportunity for us all to celebrate Leaf's first international demonstration farm. We have got a number of speakers today, so we're going to go through and do some brief welcome and introductions. And then we're going to get an idea as to how we've got here today, so how we've arrived at this point. So Valerie and Graham Whyte, who are from Springfield Farms, have been part of a previous Leaf project in collaboration with a number of different partners, and that was all around looking at carbon and the journey to net zero. So we're going to have a look at that project and what they've learned from that. And then we're going to dive into integrated farm management in a bit more detail, what it is, and really get an idea of how Valerie and Graham are implementing IFM in action at the farm across their different cropping types. We'll then open that up to a broader conversation around sustainability, get to know the farm a bit more and the farming business in terms of the challenges, but also if there's potential opportunities as well, and then have a really good Q&A discussion towards the end of the webinar session as well. As I mentioned earlier, towards the end of the session, we've got a few questions that we want to ask of you. One of the things that's really important is that you get out of this session, but also the fact that Springfield Farms is a demonstration farm now, that you can start to get the most out of that and use it as an opportunity to see IFM in action. So we want to hear your thoughts and the challenges that you're facing and what you'd like to see on the ground, and how Leaf can facilitate that. So to do that, to make sure everyone on the webinar and at the in-person event can interact in that way, we're using Slido. So you'll see on your screen now, there is the QR code, or you can just go directly to slido.com and then join as a participant. You just need to enter this code that you can see on the screen. It will come up again later, so don't worry if you don't get a chance to do it exactly now, but I'll just leave it up for a few moments. So the code is 5885631. And when you go to slido.com, you should see there's a box where you can enter that code, and then you'll be able to respond. There's just 2 questions that we're going to ask of you towards the end of the session.
Sorry, Emily, we don't see your screen.
At all. Oh, sorry. Let me see if I can fix that. Sorry. Here's me thinking everyone could see it. Sorry about that. Is that better?
Yes, but it's just a bit compressed.
Let me make it bigger, sorry. Let's see if that's working.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, thank you, Valerie. Sorry, sat here blissfully unaware. So here is the Slido slide. It will make a lot more sense now that you can see it. So the QR code, or just head directly to slido.com and enter the code 5885631. As I said, this will appear when we get to the questions as well, so you'll be able to log on and do that if you don't get a chance to do that just now. But I'll just leave that there for a moment. Okay, so some very brief introductions before we get stuck into the main content for today. So my name is Emily Pope and I am Network Development Manager at Leaf. So that means that myself and the wider team, we are responsible for a whole range of different projects and the network itself. So I'll talk a bit more about the network of demonstration farms and innovation centres, but primarily I work with those farmers and researchers that are involved with that network. And we're really looking at how we can showcase and drive forward different aspects of integrated farm management across even wider geographies than we have done until now. So I joined Leaf just before Christmas last year. My background is primarily in knowledge exchange, but I also did my PhD in sustainable farming, looking at soil and water management. So very interested in how we can bridge that gap between research and practice. Dan, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Emily. Good morning, everyone. Particularly warm welcome to everybody joining Valerie and Graham in South Africa. I'm a bit disappointed that our budget didn't stretch to get everybody out there, unfortunately, despite multiple requests going in. My name is Dan Stevenson. I'm Head of Sustainable Farming at Leaf, and I would work with Emily on the knowledge exchange side of things, as well as the projects and some of the technical resources as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dan. Valerie and Graham, would you like to do just a short intro? I know we've got a full intro a bit later on, but do you want to just say hi to everyone?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Valerie Whyte. I'm Graham's wife. I joined the farm about 5 years ago. And I actually come from an academic background, and I did my PhD on actually integrated pest management and bats in agriculture, and how bats can help to control pests. And that's how I got involved in on different macadamia farms, and how I met Graham and his family. And yeah, after a while, I joined their business.
Hi, everyone. I'm Graham Whyte. I'm Managing Director of Springfield Farms. Yeah, the Whyte family has always had a specific interest in, obviously, agriculture, but the environment as well. I'm a graduate of the Royal Agricultural University in the UK, so actually spent a lot of time in the UK, 7 years, and worked in the fruit industry there. But yeah, back on the farms and tying it all together for a better future. So thank you, and yeah, great to be part of the Leaf project.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. I should say as well, even though we've got the Slido questions a little bit later on, if you've got any questions as we go through the webinar, please pop them into the Q&A, and then we can come to them towards the end. But as you think of them, please do pop them in. Right, to get things started, we're going to give you an introduction to Leaf and who we are and what we do, and I'll hand over to Dan, who's going to take us through that. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Emily. I'll keep this brief. This morning really is about Valerie and Graham and the team joining the Leaf Network, but it's good, I think, to have a little bit of background on Leaf for those people that maybe aren't totally aware of what we do. A lot of people have come across Leaf in some capacity, but they're not always aware of the true breadth of what we do and the multiple areas we're involved in. So sometimes it's quite useful to go through some of that background and some of the wider work we're involved in. If we can move on, Emily. So we exist and we were established as a membership charity back in 1991, and we exist to work towards a global food and farming system that really delivers climate positive action, importantly building resilience, which tends to be a bit of a buzzword at the moment, but it's been talked about for a long time in the leaf world, and really supports the health, environment and diversity of food, but importantly farms as well, wider communities in which we work in, and also climate and environment. And we really do that by promoting and showcasing farming systems that are integrated, that's a key bit, regenerative in their nature, not necessarily in the sort of umbrella that people might be using that term now, but are less extractive and more regenerative, and importantly have nature-based solutions. And we do that through our work in three main pillars. The really key bit we find in all of this, and our founders were very much key on this, is actually economics need to come first, and we can't really be talking about climate positive action unless we have the economics of the business right. Thank you, Emily. So the first area we work in would be the area that Emily and I primarily work in, and this is the connection side of things. So bringing people together and from across farming, research, industry, to work together and really share knowledge. We repeatedly see that peer-to-peer knowledge exchange is really what works, people learning from others who are doing that side of things. And our network that Emily looks after and that Valerie and Graham and the team are joining is really integral to this. And Emily will go into a bit more detail on that shortly. But we recognise at Leaf that we're not the experts in anything. We tend to sit in the middle, facilitating connections and collaborations, but we really aren't there to tell people how to do anything, simply there to facilitate that learning, that collaborative learning across the industry. So from today, we will have 42 demonstration farms. So as Emily says, Valerie and Graham are our 42nd and our first outside the UK. So it's an incredibly exciting day for us today. And we're really pleased to have those guys and the team joining our network. And they're complemented by 19 innovation centres. So these are really research platforms that are leading the way in sustainable farming. And so they bookend either end of that sort of span. And we try and bring that research to practice and then practitioners to researchers as well. So the next area we work is, our next pillar is trust. And this really is achieved primarily through our Leaf Mark certification. And I imagine there's a number of people in the room in South Africa who've come across Leaf through Leaf Mark. But really the key is that it's built around our integrated farm management framework, and it's also independently audited. And what that does is it's a sort of very broad framework that is applicable across multiple geographies and lots of different farming types. And the idea is it demonstrates sustainable farming to retailers, consumers, other farmers, policymakers, financial institutions, to name just a few. And really the network and the wider membership illustrates what's possible and the broad range of settings around which IFM and Leaf Mark is applicable. And a really key part of this standard, and hopefully we'll go into this in a little bit more detail later, is that continuous improvement. So establishing where we are, where we want to get to, and then demonstrating a pathway towards that, with the understanding that actually things rarely go according to plan, and there tends to be a few bumps along the road. A little sort of fact around Leaf Mark certification: we currently have certified businesses in over 50 countries around the world. So as Emily says, really Leaf is moving from a UK-centric charity to a much more globally applicable charity, and it's really important that we replicate that within our membership and our network, and Springfield's joining is the first step in that. And then our final pillar is our education side of things, and with our team of education specialists and our Open Farm Sunday team, we work with farmers, students and the wider community to bring them to food and farming in real life, demonstrating what sustainable farming looks like, and also the really exciting careers that are involved there. It's a really key bit of sort of closing the loop, as we'll demonstrate in a little while. But just to give some figures around this, nearly 500,000 young people have been reached through our Farming Fortnight resources. And in the years that Open Farm Sunday has existed, 3.5 million people have got out on farms. So you can see it's a really important tool for engaging the wider community, for demonstrating the work that farmers are doing in climate positive action and what goes into getting their food on the shelves and on the table. And so that all links together in our theory of change, really. And you can see that all of these three pillars harness that information that we're gathering, that knowledge that's out there, and it brings farm practices and research. We then feed that into the standard and back to the members, and then share this with the wider society, the industry, and young people to connect this loop and bring all of those elements of sustainable farming together. So projects like that Valerie and Graham are involved in, and the network, are absolutely key to really making this sort of palpable sense of sustainable farming in real life, and continuing to improve at our end as well as at the farm side of things as well. So hopefully that gives a little bit of background without dominating the morning on what Leaf does and what we're set up to do, and hopefully shows the breadth of where we work beyond the sort of mini touch points people might have with the charity along the way.
Thank you very much, Dan. That's great. And as Dan said, I was just going to touch on the network specifically. So the network of demonstration farms and innovation centres. And this picture here that you can see on the background of this slide, this was taken in April of this year at the launch event that we had at Lucy and Nick Tyler's down in the southwest of the UK. And they were, before Valerie and Graham, they were our most recent demonstration farm to join the network. So we're looking forward to seeing some pictures like this from the farm tour that you guys will go on later. So as Dan has said, today marks the latest launch of the demonstration farm, taking our total numbers to 42 demonstration farms and 19 innovation centres. I think, you know, it's fair to say that both the demonstration farms and the innovation centres, we work very closely with all of them, but they are independent businesses in their own right. And as we've said, they're at the forefront of developing and then implementing and showcasing those new approaches and pushing the boundaries of integrated farm management. When I was putting these slides together, I was thinking of this map and how we're going to have it fairly more zoomed out than this now that you guys have joined us, which is a fantastic problem to have. But how the demonstration farms and innovation centres work is that we bring them together multiple times throughout the year. We run a network day that everyone's invited to, and increasingly at Leaf we are looking at how we can close that gap between research and practice. So if there are things that the network of farms are asking for, we can take that to our dedicated and trusted research academics in our innovation centres and ask them those questions, see what research projects they're working on, and also make sure that the research projects they're working on can directly benefit not only the farmers involved in the network, but the wider agricultural industry as well. So really making sure that the work that's being done across the network is applicable and relevant. I think from a demonstration farm perspective as well, as Dan has said, it is great to get farmers out onto farmers learning best from other farmers. It's you guys that can share your experience of what does work well, but also recognizing that you might try new approaches, and there'll be lessons that can be learned from things that necessarily haven't gone so well, from different trials that you might be doing. But really getting out on farm, seeing it in practice is the best way to learn, to then take it back and potentially try some new approaches in your own farm business. So it's not to say that, demonstration farms get everything 100% right, from the very beginning. It's that we are demonstrating, I guess, a mindset and an ethos of integrated farm management and how you put that into practice in a, as Dan has said, commercially viable way, because making sure that that not only are you implementing integrated farm management, you're sustainable, you're regenerative, but we also recognise that that has to pay as well. You're running farm businesses at the end of the day. So that's the network, and we'll share some links to some further information about the network and a number of different resources that we'll signpost to today. But as we've already said, absolutely delighted that Valerie and Graham are joining the network of demonstration farms today. So without further ado, I will hand over to Valerie and Graham to take us through an introduction to the farm. Thank you, Valerie and Graham.
Graham will do the introduction.
Thank you very much, Emily. Yeah, guys, so we as Springfield Farms is owned by the Whyte family. Just going to jump into a bit of background on how the farming operations came about. But yeah, in 1984, my dad and mother were working for a company called Hunter Showers and Hepburn, which were going to be purchased by Mondi Timber. Hunter Showers had mostly timber plantations, but an agricultural section to their farming operations. I guess because of work security, my dad and mum decided to cheekily speak to their directors of Hunter Showers and Hepburn and ask if they could purchase the agricultural sections of the farms. So they were obviously highly thought about and likable enough for Hunter Showers to accept that, and with a loan from the bank managed to purchase their first farm. So I must thank my dad for doing all the hard work. He's here today in the audience. Over the years, we've gradually expanded the farming operations. We've been involved with avo marketing through Caterpillar, which was one of the major exporters based out of France originally, and over the years have moved on to both exporting through 3 farms, Farm Direct and Avo Fresh in the UK. Yeah. So if you could just shoot back one again. So I'll jump more into that later. But as a family-owned business, we all, as 3 siblings, mum and dad still heavily involved in the farming operation. We all take on different aspects of the business, and it works really well. But what brought us to Leaf was our exporting businesses suggesting that this is becoming more and more relevant in the UK, and of course our own family ethos, which is certainly to look after the environment as we remain custodians for the land. Thank you. So we have 2 main agricultural farming sites. We are here today at the guest house, and we're in the Pisanghoek Valley. As you see a little bit further east is one of our major farming areas. So we have 4 farms owned and 1 leased. We have 180 hectares of avocados with numerous varieties, cultivars, Spioti, Ryan, Lamhas, Pinkerton, to name a few. We have 270 hectares of macadamia nuts and 80 hectares of pecans. We have never cleared any indigenous bush on our properties and have only removed old orchards or old gum plantations, that eucalyptus plantations, for new developments. And so we're big on conserving our indigenous bush, which is shown in the illustrations of green on the various farms. we really do farm in heaven, we believe. We have fantastic red Hutton soils, perfect for the cultivation of avocados and macadamias, as well as being in a really nice high rainfall area of 1,200 hectares. So, excuse me, millimeters. But I think which is something really important to discuss, because a lot of our orchards are actually dry land. Because of our high rainfall, we don't need to irrigate for vast periods of the year. Thanks. You can move on, Emily. Just going into a little bit more of our indigenous bush. We really conserve as much as possible. We have some really beautiful species up in our area, whether it's animals, birds, plant life, insects. Some of the more endangered species are Samango monkeys, red acres, those sorts of things. So we do take pride in looking after those and conserving them for the future. Just a little bit more on the family business. In the height of the harvesting season, we have as much as 370 up to 400 employees on the farm. We CSA Global Gap certified, and our avocado pack house on the farm is also HACCP certified. We're involved in numerous industry bodies, study groups, and we like to stay ahead with regards to research and development in the agricultural sector. As mentioned, we have an avocado pack house on the farm, so we are heavily through the whole supply chain, where obviously we produce the avocados and macadamia nuts for that matter, and through our pack house and the supply chain goes through 3 farms exports and or AvoFresh as our exporting avocado businesses, and to many of the UK retailers. Certainly Tesco's and Sainsbury's are some of our big supporters. So if any of you are online, thank you very, very much. Your business is most welcome. Then on the macadamia side of things, we have our own processing facilities. We've got 3 processing facilities, one up in the Livibu area in South Africa where we are now, one down in the Whyte River area in the province of Mpumalanga, and one down in KwaZulu-Natal, Ramsgate area. Green Farms has grown to be the biggest processor of kernel macadamias in the country, and yeah, it's many markets globally we send to, the US, Europe, Middle East, Asia, and so yeah, it's been an exciting journey on both the exporting of avocados and macadamia nuts, and of course one of our last product is pecan nuts, which yeah, we do about 80 hectares of that as well. So as far as knowing the environmental certification would become a market requirement in the future, and on the advice of our exporters, we jumped at the opportunity to get involved with LEAF. Not only does this resonate with our core values as a farming operation, but we hope it does bring benefit and opportunity in the market going ahead. Thank you.
We would.
Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, go on, Dan.
I was just going to introduce the project.
Go for it.
So as Graham touched on there, and thank you, Graham, that's brilliant to learn more about the business. And hopefully we can touch a little bit later on sort of what the IFM framework and Leafmark and Leaf has delivered to the business generally. But it's great to see that that was an ethos across the family and across the business, and actually it aligns with what we're trying to do. And that's a key part of Leaf, is bringing similarly minded people together. And really it was through the Journey to Net Zero project that we really got involved with Springfield and Valerie and Graham. So this is a 3-year funded project by the Co-op Foundation, with also supplementary funding from Chase Grove Family Foundation. And really the aim of this project was to bring diverse farming businesses, and I appreciate you probably can't make out the details there, but just to give you an idea of the geographical spread of the farms and also the type of farms they were, but to bring these businesses together and support them in demonstrating and showcasing how they're working towards low or net zero carbon farming practices. And so we've done this by establishing initial baselines and then working with independent external advisors to create plans, again, another key part of IFM and Leafmark, set targets and monitor progress towards reducing that footprint. And really a key part's been sharing those learning and experiences with the intention of helping other producers to go along a similar journey and make similar changes in their businesses. But as Emily touched on before, inevitably the learnings aren't always about what went well, and those learnings about what probably didn't go as well is just as important as the positives. And we're always really grateful for farmers like the guys involved in this project, Valerie and Graham, and the other Co-op Foundation farmers, that they're willing to share those challenges and those difficulties, because they're as important for other people's learnings and aiding their transition as anything else. And we know that there's an awful huge amount of variables that farming is subjected to, and many of those are outside of the control of people doing the farming. But equally, we know that actually taking control of those elements you can have an impact on, controlling the controllables really. And we've been able to measure what a huge impact that does have, and how that will introduce some of that resilience against some of the factors, weather, for example, market forces, that you don't necessarily have that same control over. Really hard to do this project justice. It's been a great project with a lot of learnings, but we do just have a bit of a video to play. As I understand it, we're going to play it for those on the webinar. The guys in person in South Africa are going to sort of check out, watch it there, and then we'll all come back together again to carry on with our discussions.
Brilliant, thank you, Dan. Okay, so I'll play at our end, and then Valerie and Graham, hopefully the technology will work your end as well, and we'll see you shortly.
Okay, I'm going to leave and then come back on shortly.
Okay, brilliant. Enjoy.
Pioneering farmers have been hand-selected to take on innovative trials as part of the Leaf Net Zero project. This project is an inspiring collaboration of industry experts set up by the Co-op and Co-op Foundation's Carbon Innovation Fund and Chase Grove funding to create change amongst our agricultural community, where farming works in harmony with nature instead of against it. The chosen farms have been measuring their carbon footprint to see where they are and what needs to change, and there have already been a few surprises along the way. And so this video tells their story so far.
Huntsback is split into 3 main divisions. So we have the growing operation, which is a national farming operation, growing about 4,000 acres of carrots and parsnips up and down the UK from Norfolk to Inverness. We'll then have a packing operation, which is based here in Preston in Lancashire, where every product comes back to get washed, graded and packed. And then we also have our transport division as well.
It's a fairly traditional Cumbrian hill farm, runs to 110 acres, but with grazing rights on the fell. We're predominantly sheep, but we do carry some cattle as well.
We farm here at Woodrow Barton, which is on the outskirts of Exeter. So we're all spring carving dairy.
Mostly cows out of grass.
So we are situated in Northern Limpopo in South Africa. Our main crops are avocados, macadamias, pecans, and timber as well.
It's just over 1,000 acres with 140 suckler cows, 330 red deer, and about 50 hectares of arable. The whole farm has been organic since 2020.
What we're trying to do is to identify ways which we can go carbon negative in some areas, which can then compensate for the areas where we will struggle to go carbon negative. If we can try to get carbon negative on the farm and perhaps push on a little forwards with initiatives in the pack house, we can then get to a carbon neutral point for the entire business. We've looked at heat recovery. So we use a big bit of kit in the pack house called the hydro cooler, which takes field heat out of the product, using that to power the cold storage and also to heat the remaining facilities as well. We then had a 1.2 megawatt installation of a solar panel array on the roof, and then all the energy that we do use is sourced from renewable energy sources as well.
We get the land from different landowners. To follow on from previous crop is out of our control. We've experimented with various types of low carbon fertilizers, a byproduct from burning chicken litter in power stations. And also we take the ash and it replaces the P and K in the fields. And the other one is a product sprayed onto the leaf of the plant, and it allows the plant to capture nitrogen oxide from the air. The autonomous project is very much in its infancy. It's the first year that we've trialled it. Because it's such a lightweight machine, we could access some of the land at an earlier period. With regards to some of the fertilizer applications as well, we've used the robot to do that, and that's been more precise. Do your research and see if you can find ideas that fit for you. Not all the ideas have worked for us. When you find one that works, it's very rewarding.
The tenant farmers, so everyone only has their patch of land for a finite amount of time, but I think it's even more apparent when you only have it for a defined tenancy period. You're quite conscious that you want to leave the place better than in a better place than when you took it on. I think it's about leaving a legacy. I suppose the main motivation was that we should all be striving to be net zero, and we just wanted some help.
Chris has been there a few times, talked us through soil compaction and worked through soils with us. We've found a lot more problems than we'd ever envisaged, really. We've tried to manage the cows on and off grazing, not leaving them out too long and things like that.
It was good to do the agri-calc and have, you want to set your baseline, you want to know where you start from. With generally both people who sort of like something to see evidence that something's going to work, but we'll follow the evidence. When we just went to put the solar panels on, we went for the biggest installation we could get.
We just thought we might not get the chance if more developments can go in.
We're really lucky. This farm has got amazingly big hedges, and we've got loads of apple orchards, and there is a lot of biodiversity inherently here from all of that. But we would like to hope by putting the whole farm to various grass lays of different types, and farming it with grazing cows and young stock, that's actually improved things even more. I think people often just don't even try and do the things you could do. So every single thing that you can do, I think, is going to make a difference.
We were doing quite a lot of environmental works. The opportunity to join the Net Zero project, the co-op project, were particularly important to us. They were all bits of jigsaw. There's still 20% of the pieces are missing, and I need to get them in place as well.
Yeah, well, we've been working with Bob to see if we can together identify opportunities where we can incorporate trees onto the farm that might benefit both Bob's farm business, but also nature recovery, connectivity of habitats.
It's what a lot of people should be doing, because all we've done is basically take some waste areas out of grazing. We've done things with them. The early part of the year, lambing time, we've got so many mouths eating everything off as it grows. Once we've got things out to the fell, then we start to catch up on grass. One of the problems of that is that clover shouldn't be grazed too hard in the early part of the year. we're watching the clovers and it's still surviving and it's doing well and it's doing the job it's supposed to, because it means we don't need to put fertilizers on. Permanent pasture holds a lot of carbon anyway. We had peat underlying probably all of the farm, but some fields in particular. That raised the question then, what do we do with the peat? How do we avoid damaging it in any way? And even better, actually sequestrate more carbon, but continuing to farm in a sensible way. This is, if you like, where leaf come in as well, because linking environment and farming is very much about putting the two things hand in hand. It can be done without prejudicing what you already do as a farmer.
In South Africa, there isn't quite the assistance that farmers would get like there is in the UK or the EU. So it's self-motivated. We've always been implementing integrated pest management. All our applications, fertilizer, chemicals, nutrients are really targeted. We're doing mulching around our young trees. We're doing soil samples, leaf samples regularly from all of our crops. We've got bat houses on the farm. Research suggests that it's a huge benefit for pest control. In the pack house, for example, we've named an electricity and water champion whose task it is to look for any wastages. We have other challenges as well. For example, our electricity grid, we often have power cuts, planned power cuts, because there isn't enough electricity in the country. So we have to have a lot of backup systems in place and run generators. All our power comes from coal plants. We don't really have the option to choose renewable energies. Solar plants, for example, for our farm, which is just quite impractical at this stage, and it would be a huge investment. We certainly learned a lot: carbon footprints, carbon credits, the whole system, because it's quite a new area. We are going to integrate it into our business policy, reduce electricity and fuel consumption. The data that you need is data that you're already capturing on the farm.
The whole farm's changed to a lot lower input. It's virtually no inputs. There's a bit of lime and some minerals for the cows. There's not as much pressure on the back parts with high inputs either. In 2018, we dispersed the whole flock of sheep, big problem with disease. And since then, our eyes have been open to the possibilities of what we can all do on this farm. We pretty much outwinter all our stock now, and so it's done with a system called bale grazing. Well, our deer, they've never had an antibiotic. Only half the calves get one wormer a year now, and that's the only chemical input into them at all. If there's nothing really going into them, there's nothing coming out of them onto the land, so it keeps the land a lot healthier as well. So I had a consultant came out back into our soils. They were pretty healthy, very little compaction there. We looked into different sort of inputs instead of lime in the form of gypsum. We're planting more hedges and there'll be some more trees, but we're still trying to find how to get to net zero without the need for trees. Like, trees are good, but we need the rest of the farm to get there on their own steam. Trying to inspire other farmers to do what we're doing because we can see the benefits of it.
Have a good look at your figures, question every decision with your farming, try to make things simpler, try to make farm as sustainable, profitable, enjoyable as we can, really, so that these our two daughters want to farm, but the farm's still here for them. Farming can have a lot of negativity sometimes, and we're striving to make it as positive as we can. Zero project.
Brilliant. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that short video, and I think it's a really nice illustration actually of how within one project different farming types and different farming systems can work together on the same project, even in, you know, with their differences, but then still share learnings between and across those different systems as well. So quite a nice illustration of integrated farm management in even though it's a focus on net zero, in different farming systems, and then that shared learning. So I'm just going to figure out how I can get off the video and move it on to the next slide, whilst I think we've got Springfield Farms rejoining us, and they're just going to reflect a little bit more on their net zero journey. We saw them in the film, but they're just, Valerie and Graham are just going to add a few more comments to where they're at on their farm.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. I'm glad that worked out without a major glitch. Yeah, I think the video gave a good overview about the project, so I won't go into too much detail about it. But just a little bit on how we actually got to join LEAF and the LEAF project. It was for us quite a bit of a proactive step. We were a little bit hesitant in the beginning. It was actually Andrew from 3 Farms, as Graham said, who sent us the advert saying, hey, I think you guys would be great for this. And we looked at it and we're kind of thinking, is it just going to be a lot of work? What are the benefits going to be? But we're just thinking to stay ahead of the curve. We knew the environmental side of farming would get more and more important, especially the accreditation. And we thought it would give us a lot of exposure. So even though we were a day late for the application, we thought we would give it a shot. And yeah, as you might be able to guess, we got the job, and we were able to join the project as, again, the only international farm with 4 UK farms as partners. We really started from the very beginning. We didn't have much knowledge about net zero, about carbon footprints and what it all means, what it all entails. And yeah, compared to the other 4 farms, I think they were already quite far ahead in their journey. So we had different starting points, different challenges, but also different opportunities. And for us, it was really a very steep learning curve, and we did learn a lot. The one thing we also learned is that we're not the only newcomers to this industry, but that the industry itself is actually very new, and it's still being developed. So sometimes we get the feeling that the market requirements or the demands, they are actually a little bit ahead of what the industry and the tools can provide, which could make things a little bit difficult here and there. But LEAF gave us a platform, and they listened to us. We always got good advice, and they guided us through the process. And they also recognized and validated our efforts of integrated farm management. So now here we are 3 years later, and for 2 years we've been LEAF Mark certified, and now the first LEAF international LEAF demonstration farm. So we're very grateful and happy with this outcome. So before I get into our integrated farm management practices, I think Emily's got another summary about what that actually means.
Brilliant, thank you. Valerie, I think just when you were playing the video, you might have switched your camera off for the Zoom call. So whilst I just do a quick run through of IFM, if you could switch that back on, that would be great, because we'd love to see you.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry. So as Valerie has said, and we've had a little bit about it in the video as well, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. That's great, thank you. And as I said, we can share some information with you after this session as well. But at the core of everything that LEAF does and how we work with our members is integrated farm management. And IFM is a site-specific farm business approach. It's made up of these 9 interrelated sections that you can see on the slides here. And it's really those linkages between those different 9 sections that is really important in understanding and appreciating how the impact of an action or a new technique or technology in one area is linked and has an impact on another area. So rather than individual farm businesses chasing one aspect of IFM over and above the others, it's understanding that everything that we do has that interrelated impact and effect across the farm business. And it covers all different aspects of sustainability, so economic, environmental and social as well, and it's all wrapped up in that lens of IFM. So I'll hand directly back to Valerie and Graham, because really what we want to hear is, you know, the highlights of integrated farm management at Springfield Farms and how you are implementing IFM in practice. Just before I do that, just a quick note, we are conscious of time. We started slightly late as well due to a few technology problems we were having our end. So we are going to run over slightly from 9:30. So we understand if people need to leave. The session is being recorded, and we will share the recording and the further resources after. But just to give you a heads up that we'll continue with the session after 9:30. So over to you, Valerie and Graham. And I think you're muted just before you start.
Yeah, thank you. All right, yeah, like Graham said in the beginning, the environment and environmentally friendly farming is very important to us as a family, and integrated farm management has always formed part of Springfield Farm's management decisions. It was through LEAF and through all this carbon footprinting that we actually realized how much we're doing already, which are without even labeling it or categorizing it as such. We do host, or we've got an open farm policy. We have hosted a couple of research projects, mine as well. But we're always open for schools and study groups. We host them where we can and try and learn and take the outcomes of the research to heart and try and implement them. I think the main aspect of integrated farm management for us is integrated pest management. So Emily, if you can move on to the next slide. We have 4 teams of 2 scouts that are on the farm on a daily basis, and they're scouting for pests and diseases on the trees. It's quite a big issue for both of our main crops, macadamias and avocados. So it's very important to know what's happening in your orchard and where we're at. We're using a computer program to monitor the populations and to pick up on any outbreaks, so we can also target our applications more precisely. As we mentioned in the video, we've got bat houses up around the farm. Bats eat main pest species like stink bugs and moths. So we're just trying to create an environment and encourage them to utilize the orchards as hunting grounds. So that's been quite successful. It's difficult to measure, but we know we've got bats in the bat houses, so that's a good thing. Other biocontrol measures that we're implementing are predatory wasps and mites to feed on stink bugs and thrips. We're using pheromone traps and attract and kill products to control the moth, the macadamia nut borer. And most recently, we've also applied a product called Bavaria bassiana, which is a fungus that we're applying to the avos where necessary to control sucking bugs and also thrips. Another important aspect, Emily, if you can move on, is pollination. Both avos and macadamias rely heavily on insect population, insect pollination. We are recycling our tires on the farm, and we're building tire hives that we're spreading around the farm and hanging them in indigenous trees. Just like with the bat houses, we're just hoping to create an environment, a nesting opportunity for the bees, and that's been very successful. So in the swarming season, the wild bee swarms go out and they find places to nest in, and we're obviously getting the benefit of the pollination. To feed the bees throughout the season, when our trees are not in flower, we're planting other flowers, and we've got our indigenous trees to just keep them fed, and to protect all pollinators, we're also making use of night sprays. Thank you, Emily. Yeah, just some other topics of integrated farm management. In new developments, we're using cover crops. We're planting indigenous trees where we can. We've got a little nursery where we've also propagated some indigenous trees. And so every year we're trying to plant out new ones. We're conserving all the natural forests and vegetation on the farm, riparian areas specifically. We are doing mulching to increase the soil organic matter. Then every year we go out in all the orchards doing soil and leaf samples to also be able to apply targeted fertilizers. And where we can, we're using semi-organic fertilizers. We've got a couple of hiking trails through the farm, through the forests, along the dams. And we often get birding groups coming to the farm. We've got a couple of special bird species. So we're quite popular. And yeah, we always welcome any visitors. We have to do a lot of invasive alien plant control, which is quite labor intensive. And also in the forest, we've got a bit of problem with poaching. So we're always busy with anti-poaching, removing snares, and yeah, just trying to make it unattractive for any unwelcomed hunters. All right, thank you for now. I think Emily's got some audience interaction.
Brilliant, thank you. So I think the next section that we want to look at is kind of, I guess, looking forwards at Springfield Farms from a sustainability perspective, and how we look at some of the challenges or potentially opportunities. And a lot of the farmers that we work with, you know, those changes to their farm business that come from the perspective of increasing sustainability. Also, some of them have efficiency savings or cost savings as well. So so we recognise that the challenges of climate change and implementing sustainability techniques and technologies are there, but also looking at it from the positive side as well. So Valerie, I think I'm handing back to your end just to talk us through some of those challenges that you're facing, and then we're going to ask the audience what they would like to see through you and the Leaf Demonstration Farm Network about how we might tackle some of them. So do you want to take us through some of the challenges you're facing?
Okay, sorry, I thought you were doing some questionnaire now or something. Sorry, I mixed it up. Okay, yeah, the sustainability challenges. As you already know by now, we're doing what we can to farm environmentally friendly and to protect the environment that is on our farm, and to improve our footprint. In that sense, the protection of the forest, or the conservation of the forest and the natural areas, is almost the easy part for us. Just because of where we're situated, it's been there historically, but it obviously, like I said in the previous slide, it comes with its management issues as well. But when we look at our footprint, the main contributors are electricity and diesel, which is a little bit more tricky for us to manage or to control. We obviously have measures in place to lower it as much as possible. But like I've already also said in the video, the options for us are limited to use renewable energy. There is no option like there might be in the UK or EU to say, I'm choosing from the grid, I'm choosing renewable energy. We only have the option of coal power plants. That is just what's available to us. We can't use biodiesel. It's just not available in our area either, or it would come at a huge financial or logistical expense. We have been looking at the solar conversion, but at this stage, it's just financially unviable. Our production or facilities, they use a lot of electricity. We've got dryers, we've got pool rooms, so to go completely off the grid is not an option. And the grid just doesn't allow us at the moment to feed back in and just benefit from it that side. Another challenge that we've encountered, or maybe a little bit of a disappointment, is that there has been little awareness or incentive also from the markets when it comes to the environmentally friendly side of our farming enterprise. Just as an example, Graham's already touched on it a little bit. When it comes to our avos and our export markets for the avocados, in the UK or EU, where we compete with avocados from Chile or from Peru. There has been quite a lot of bad press in the last couple of years when it comes to avos overseas, which is due to them being planted in unsuitable areas or in deserts where they do need extensive irrigation. So there have been a lot of reports in Europe that avos are terrible for the environment. They're using too much water, they're causing deforestation, they're causing indigenous tribes to lose their access to water, and they're all going hungry. And so when we were overseas, we were in Germany, and when we were telling people what we're doing, we're farming avos, normally we would expect the reaction to be, oh, wow, we love avos. And it was the complete opposite. And everybody was almost treating us as the devil and saying, it's like, oh, no, avos are terrible. How could you do that to the environment? And yeah, we realized where it was coming from, and that there had just recently been some bad documentations about it. And there was never the distinction made between the origins of the fruit. And we were basically being thrown into the same pot, whereas where we are growing avos, as Graham said, we hardly need to irrigate them, and they're mostly rain-fed. So for us, it would be great if the consumer actually can recognize that. And we saw the opportunity also with Leaf to maybe give us the platform and get that recognition. So yeah, through being Mark certified and even our demonstration farm, we hope to be able to set ourselves apart a little bit from our competition.
Brilliant, thank you. So we just wanted to give an opportunity really for everybody in the audience to feed in their ideas. So we've just got a couple of questions that we'll run through quickly. So now that you've heard a little bit more about Graham and Valerie's business and Springfield Farm, some of the things that they looked at through the Net Zero project, but also some of the things that they're facing in terms of sustainability challenges, right the way through to consumer perception as well, which does feed back into sustainability. We want to know from you, if you had to prioritize one sustainability action, what would it be? So I can see that the Slido is obviously working, which is a relief because I can see some answers coming in, which is great. And what we will do is we will use these responses to make sure that we're sharing relevant information through Graham and Valerie and the Leaf Demonstration Farm, so that we're helping not just Graham and Valerie on their journey, but also the wider industry as well. So seeing lots around soil, and obviously that being the basis of a lot of integrated farm management approaches in terms of that water management, also that crop health as well. Water's coming up a lot as well, which is interesting based on what you've said, Valerie, about and Graham, about your water strategies on farm as well. So I think that gives us a really good idea in terms of not only the prioritization of the sustainability actions, but maybe some of the similar challenges that people are facing as well. So that's a really good insight into what everyone's thinking about on the webinar. And then just in terms of, we chatted a little bit about putting new techniques and technologies into practice. Sometimes they're a great success, and then other times they are an opportunity for us to learn where things don't go as well. And we've mentioned mindset as well already, so it's not necessarily just about what you're doing from a technical perspective, but it's also some of those challenges that you might be facing and what might limit your ability to implement some of these techniques. So again, through the demonstration farm network, we want to be able to support you to overcome some of those wider challenges in terms of implementing IFM. So we're asking you what the biggest challenge, would be to adopting some of these plans. And then hopefully what we can do with this is, again, tailor some of that facilitated support so that we can both address the technical side of IFM, but also some of that mindset and risk management perspective as well. And financial risk is coming up a lot. And I think, you know, you mentioned it earlier in terms of being able to demonstrate the economic impact or economic viability of some of these practices, and actually being able to communicate that to farmers is, I think, quite a powerful driver for change. If we can say, you know, this is the cost saving or the time saving, or the potentially increasingly the market access, as Graham and Valerie have already spoken about as well, or any kind of incentive to apply some of these techniques and technologies as well. That's great. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions to those. I'm not 100% sure when I click off if the polls are still open, but please do continue to feed in your ideas, and also contact us directly. We've got some contact details at the end of the session as well. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on what it is that you want to see out of the demonstration farm. So I'll hand back to Valerie and Graham, your end, just to wrap up with some final thoughts. We have got some questions as well, so we'll be coming back to you. But yeah, just an opportunity to hear from you on your concluding thoughts.
Yeah, I think just finalizing, we just wanted to say that we as Springfield Farms, we really enjoyed working with LEAF. We learned a lot from participating in the LEAF Net Zero project. And even though we were hesitant at first, I think we realized that even the LEAF mark certification was not as challenging as we had originally feared, and that a lot of the requirements were already in place and just needed to be documented. We're very grateful to receive the recognition and the validation through LEAF, and by being part of the LEAF network to be able to increase our exposure to the markets. And yes, thank you all for listening. Thank you to all of you who are here in person, everybody that's joined online. Thank you to LEAF for choosing us as your first international demonstration farm. And yeah, it's quite the honor for us. And we're looking forward to the farm tour for those of you who are interested, and we'll obviously be taking some photos that we'll be sharing with the online audience at a later stage.
Brilliant, thank you. And I should say it's really our thanks to you for becoming our first international demonstration farm rather than the other way around. It's, as I said at the start, it's a real milestone for LEAF as a charity and an organisation, but also for the existing network to be able to learn from you guys and what you're doing, and share and compare and contrast different approaches to sustainable farming and integrated farm management. So really it is our thanks to you. So I'm going to open it up to Q&A now. Oh, sorry.
Excuse me, if I could just add one last thing there. I just would love to thank my beautiful wife for all the work she's done in mostly taking on this project. She's done an amazing job, and yeah, we certainly support her in the background, but yeah, it's mostly on the back of her that we've managed to achieve this. So thank you, Valerie.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant, thank you.
Stay and answer questions.
Okay, so we've got a question that's come in here, and I hope I pronounce it correctly. So Matthew Guest has asked, are solar geysers used? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, we're using solar geysers on almost all structures.
Can you, Valerie, do you mind, just for the benefit of us that don't know 100% what they are, could you explain what they are for us?
A solar geyser is a geyser which heats water, but from the sun. So it's basically a geyser with a solar panel, which instead of using electricity, is produced through the heat of the sun. The hot water is.
Brilliant. And the infrastructure for that, because I know you said about the like solar panels, the infrastructure and the cost involved in that would be significant. So the geysers, is the infrastructure for that easier to implement?
Yeah, so we've got you know, really high energy demand pack houses, those sorts of things, with cool rooms, drying facilities. So yeah, it's a bit of a waiting game to say where or when are the funds ready to move in that direction. For smaller hanging fruit like accommodation for our staff workers and that sort of thing, we provide solar geysers because it's less expensive, but yeah, does a good job with heating the water. So yeah, I think we are in the process of taking small chunks but moving in the direction in the future. Just need great prices on the farms and it'll make it easier.
Yeah, definitely. And so you've had a question about the carbon footprinting tool that you used as well. And I guess, you know, but for farmers in the UK, there's a range of different tools that they could use. So I wondered if you could just tell us a bit more about the tool that you've used, how that kind of fits in with the standards as well, and kind of what the marketplace for carbon tools is in South Africa, and which, you know, is it dictated by certain retailers, or are there certain standards that they comply with? How does it fit within your farming system?
So I've used two different tools. The first one I used was confronting climate change. There was a sort of benchmarking project in the macadamia industry in South Africa, where they also asked for participating farms to do a carbon footprint through that tool, just so they can create a benchmark for the industry. So we tried that. The one issue with it was a bit created for, I think, the wine industry, so it wasn't very specific for us as tree farmers. And then also it had it wasn't considering any of the sequestration. So that was one of the issues we raised in the very beginning with Leaf in our net zero journey. So then they suggested the Cool Farm tool, which does allow for some sequestration data. But also with that tool, there are issues. Again, it's not really for subtropical areas, for especially nut farms. I think they were saying they are working on a tree nut template. So far that I'm not sure if they've completed that. But also the Cool Farm tool, for example, is for production areas. So it considers your orchards. It doesn't consider our 230 hectares of natural forest that we've got on the farm. So that's not even going into the calculation of your footprint. So that's why I also was saying, you know, yes, we want to do a footprint, but the tools that are available to us at this stage are not really a true reflection of what's on the ground. So I think that's yeah, where I was saying, you know, the industry is quite new, it's being developed, and yeah, we're kind of ahead of what the tools allow us to do.
Yeah. How do you measure change then if the tool isn't quite there? Like, I guess not just from a carbon perspective, but more generally across the farm, like if you're looking at these sustainability actions that you're going to put in place, how do you as a farm business, I guess, collect data and use that data to inform decision making? How do you measure and monitor change?
Well, when it comes to our sustainability practices, we were quite in the beginning, you know, so we've now with Leaf sort of set the benchmark, we've looked at the carbon footprints, and now it's for us to actually monitor if there is change and how we can improve it further. But I guess in the end, we're doing whatever we can, whether or not it makes a difference. We just believe it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And we can obviously see it in the consumption, in the product use, etc. So that will become more clear if we go ahead and keep on measuring.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think from a farming perspective, we're very conscious on costs and where wastage is involved and those sorts of things. So yeah, on the one hand, obviously, preventing wastage and so on is good for the environment, but it's also good for your bottom line at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And then just another question that we've had in about climate resilience. So have your sustainability practices, I know you said like, you're kind of at the start of that journey, but it seems like you already have been doing a lot actually. So have your sustainability practices helped to manage extreme weather events more effectively? Have you seen greater resilience in your farm business, in the cropping under, different weather events because of those practices that you've put in?
Yeah, you want to?
Yeah, certainly, when it comes to adding organic material to the orchards, that's a major plus for us. I mean, as I mentioned, a lot of our orchards are dry land, so we do rely on the rain. And if the rain doesn't come at the right time, it can have an effect on your production. But by applying mulches and carbon and thick layers of organic material, your moisture lasts much longer, and then certainly you can be more drought resistant. I don't know if you have any more ideas to add to that.
No, I think it's a pretty good answer. No, I think the main issue for us in our area is drought and heat. Obviously, like everywhere in the world, there's going to be a flood eventually. But our periods of drought are just getting longer. So we're doing what we can to just be resilient to that.
So just on the flip side to the drought, I mean, we are a very high rainfall area, but particularly our flower period for the avocados and macadamia nuts usually falls into this September period now, which is just post-winter, moving into spring, and our summer rains really start sort of October, November time. So if you don't get good early rains, it can have an effect. Then with regards to floods, which do happen, looking after our riparian areas, planting indigenous trees along rivers and so on, I think all goes to looking after the soil and making sure when we develop our lands, we develop them correctly, the right gradients with cover crops, grass them nicely so there's no runoff of soil or anything like that. So yes, those are all things maybe your question is waking us up to, but we're doing already.
Yeah, I think you're already doing a lot. Yeah. We have got some other questions. I'm conscious of time, and I know you guys have got your farm tour to look forward to. So what I'm going to suggest is if we collect those questions in, and we will get answers to them and circulate them after the session with all of the links and the videos and things. But one final question for both of you, Graham and Valerie, that I want to ask. You've touched on it a little bit, but I guess is just in terms of your final thoughts, is what do you hope to achieve as a leaf demonstration farm, both for yourselves as your farm and your family farm business, but also for the local and wider agricultural community as well? So if I could ask you for your final thoughts on that.
Well, I think like we both said, I think we're trying to set us apart a little bit from our competitors on the markets. But also I think we want to continue our journey as an open farm, maybe be a bit of a flagship in the area. We know a lot of farms are busy looking into environmental accreditation, etc. So to be a bit of help or encouragement to take that step forward, I think it's something that we happily do. And yeah, just get exposure and carry on learning from Leaf and the Leaf network.
Yeah, from my side, being a farmer, being in tune with where I've grown up and wanting to see things remain the way they have for hundreds of thousands of years. I mean, obviously, wildlife has maybe changed to a degree with fences and agricultural farms. You know, back in the day, there was elephants roaming these valleys, which is no longer, although they're not too far away from us. But, you know, waking up and being able to see animals and birds and bees and being in a healthy climate, driving around at night with a spotlight and seeing porcupines and bush pigs and night apes, I think would be the English term for it. You know, it gives you a full heart, and yeah, I think we need to make sure those things are looked after for the generations to come.
That's amazing, thank you. We have Dan and I have often commented on we're used to, you know, biodiversity in the UK, but the biodiversity that you're talking about is very different to what we've been exposed to so far. So, which is very exciting. And I was lucky enough to be on farm yesterday with Lucy and Nick Tyler, who were the latest demonstration farm to launch, as I said earlier in the year. And the suggestion of demonstration farm and network exchanges has been floated. So everyone is very excited to welcome you both to the network. And it would be great to organise a visit to come out and see you in person and see what you're doing. So I've got a couple of updates just from a leaf perspective that I will just reshare my screen just so everyone knows some of the things that you can get involved with. We've got a number of events coming up soon I just wanted to highlight, and as I said, I will send all of this round to everyone who's registered, both in person and online, because there's some online activity as well. But just to let everybody know, we are currently recruiting for the next cohort of a project that we run in collaboration with Corteva called Resilient and Ready. There's more information online. There's the QR code here, the link, and some contact details. This is working in collaboration with Corteva. It's a programme looking at farm businesses, looking at encouraging applications specifically, although not limited to, sustainable livestock production, pasture and homegrown feed optimisation, or livestock integration. As I said, there's more information online about what the project involves. There's some videos of past participants, what they've learned, and why they'd encourage you to apply for this project, which we'll send round. We've got our calendars at least are busy filling up with different on-farm and online events that you can see here on the screen. A number of them are available for you to dial into. So for those of you in South Africa, the leaf surgery focusing on water, and water came up in the conversation today, so you might well be interested to join in that. Again, I'm not going to read through this list now because I'm conscious of time and everyone's day, but just let you know these events are happening and everyone is most welcome to join in. I think all it really does is to say thank you, both from myself and on behalf of Leaf, and I'll hand to Dan for a final few words before we finish. But thank you to everybody for joining for this really exciting and significant event of the launch of Springfield Farms as the Leaf demonstration farm. For those of you in person with Valerie and Graham, I know you're going to enjoy a wonderful farm tour. As part of that farm tour, there'll be a ceremonial tree planting that takes place at all of our launch events. So yeah, looking forward to seeing some pictures of that and how that goes. And then I think you've got a delicious lunch with some produce from the farm to look forward to as well. So I can't say that mine and Dan's lunch will be as delicious as what you're going to enjoy, but we'll try and make up for it. So once again, thank you, Valerie and Graham, for everything that you do for Leaf, for everything that you do for farming, both for your business and for the wider community as well. And I will just hand over to Dan for some final closing words, if that's okay.
Thanks,
Thank you, Emily.
I'd just like to echo Emily, thanks Valerie and Graham and the whole team. I know your business is more than the two of you, and it's great to have you in the network. We know already just from our engagement with you up to this point and from today. You're going to enhance the Leaf Network so much and bring so much more sort of knowledge and that willingness to share, which is what it's all about. So we thank you for that, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with you. And I think really some things came out of our talks today, and there was just a few sort of common threads, I think, that hopefully everybody can take away. One of those was knowing what you're doing already, and even through some of the discussion and things, you said, well, actually, you've highlighted what we're doing already in this area. Valerie, you touched on it in terms of the Leaf Mart certification as well. Sometimes it's just a case of writing down what you're doing and reassuring yourself that you're doing a huge amount already, so it's not a cliff that a lot of people have got to jump off, a scary cliff. And then equally, what those sort of areas of IFM, Leaf Mart certification, what they deliver to you guys economically, but also resilience and reward in what you're doing. Graham, you said it sort of gives you a sense of warmth in your heart to get up and see those things, and to see your farmland being a haven for wildlife, as well as being productive and producing things that you're incredibly proud of, and rightly so. So it just delivers on so many levels, and I think it's demonstrating that that's accessible to people and how they can get started, and you've done that brilliantly today, and I know you will do that on your tour as well. So we just hope we can continue to get that message out. But thank you so much for your work so far. Thanks for today, and we're looking forward to doing more with you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Enjoy the
everyone.
rest of your day.
Yes.
Thanks everyone for joining.